Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our home here in beautiful Laguna Beach in Southern California. Let me speak first to the question of how I came to see the elimination of nuclear weapons, not so much as an ephemeral goal to be pursued at the whim of the nuclear weapon states, but rather a moral imperative. When I took command of the United States Strategic Nuclear Forces in January of 1991, I assumed three responsibilities. The first was for the operation, the deployment, and prospective employment of over 1,000 land-based missiles, hundreds of bombers, and what came to be a fleet of 18 Trident submarines, each carrying 24 missiles, each missile bearing 8 thermonuclear warheads, each of which was some 15 times more powerful than the atom bomb dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The second responsibility was to design the nuclear war plan that would target some 10,000 weapons against the Soviet Union and its allies in the Warsaw Pact. And third, and directly to the point today, was to serve as the principal nuclear advisor to the President of the United States, that is, in a nuclear crisis. Once I understood the nature of the attack, then my role was to reach the President wherever he might be, to describe for him the nature of the attack as we best understood it. And then in the space of about 10 minutes, to get his decision 3 minutes before the first missile landed so our forces would not be reduced to the point that our war plan was rendered irrelevant. In describing the impact of the options for the President's decision, the thing that came crashing home to me the first time I went through this exercise is that with respect to the human consequences, the figures were normally in the low millions to the tens of millions, and at the highest range, hundreds of millions of dead. And of course, that was just the immediate consequences. What we know now is that because of the global effects of not just 10,000, but 20,000 weapons, counting those of the Soviet Union, it wasn't just the fate of our enemy that was at stake, but the planet as a whole. And so, yes, for me, the elimination of nuclear weapons is not just a moral imperative. It is, in effect, the ultimate measure of our worth as a species, as human beings, whether or not the bar of civilization can be inched higher, or whether our acceptance that nuclear weapons are the ultimate arbiter of conflict will stifle our capacity to think more broadly and more compassionately about who we are as human beings and what our potential is. The second point that I want to make is somewhat paradoxical, and that is, although I see this as a moral imperative, there's no, in my mind, there's no moral high ground to be seized and claimed here. One man's moral imperative is another man's suicide for disaster. If you subscribe to deterrence, which I did for many years, what you see here is that it is not only entirely possible, but it is a fact of life that people of great experience, great integrity, and yes, great faith can come down on opposite sides of this question. And then finally, I would urge you to think carefully about your prospective audience. The first is the choir audience who believes exactly as you do, as I do. The second are those who are adamantly opposed to the notion of elimination, at least in any near-term way, given the obstacles involved. A third audience are those who are simply not interested. And sadly, there are any number of people who are either too busy or who simply don't care. But finally, I think the largest audience, and your target audience, are those who are unaware, who need to be apprised of what the circumstances are, what the consequences are, and to frame for them very carefully how they might think about it and hopefully come down on the side of eliminating these devices. And as I usually close my public remarks, I observe that I think that we escaped the Cold War without a nuclear holocaust by some combination of skill, luck, and divine intervention. Hence the name of our foundation, the Second Chance Foundation, because I think our Creator gave us a second chance to get it right. And I doubt very seriously whether his forbearance, his patience, will extend to a third chance. And so on that score, I wish you Godspeed.